welcome back to the channel. Today in this video we're going to be talking about how the ST1300 is one of the best bargains in motorcycling for open class touring machines. But before we get started, if you're not a subscriber, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like. It really helps out the channel. I noticed that in my analytics 96% of you watching are not subscribers, so that would really help me out. Let's get started with the video. It boggles the mind that this bike is so inexpensive in the used market. It just seems like nobody wants ST1300s. And what are you getting for like $4,000? I mean, literally, these bikes cost $4,000. Now, it's all like location specific. You go to Europe, I was like looking at the ST1300s, and they were 8,000 euros for a high mileage one. But I think the people in Europe have better taste, because here no one likes scooters, but scooters are some of the most practical things you could possibly get. And the ST1300, I mean, you're getting a 1300cc engine, shaft drive. It just boggles the mind what you can get for this thing. You can ride for miles and miles, super reliable. I don't think you could argue that this bike is one of the most reliable Hondas. I've seen so many of these with 200,000 miles. I mean, those are car-like mileages. Speed camera. It's like car-like mileage. Of course, the engine is about the same size as a car, so you'd expect it, I think. I don't think I have seen that many miles on the touring BMWs. I've seen the GSs with 100,000 miles, and then you read the captions. It's like, oh, it's had a new motor, it's had a new like drivetrain, whatever. To keep this bike running, all you need is an engine oil change and filters. And even that, it might be argued that you don't need many of them. Valve adjustments, you might ask? Well, barely any. You really don't have to do a lot of adjustment on this bike. It really is one of those bikes that it almost feels like it's an electric bike by its reliability. Just add oil, add gas, and go. They don't burn oil. I think there are like a few issues. There's the high-speed wobble, but there's also the amazing comfort that you get on this bike. I know that the flavor of the day is to get adventure bikes, and nowadays people are getting adventure bikes that are smaller, like 600s. But to me, I love having a shaft drive, and you can't get that on a smaller adventure bike. That's why I like these bikes. You get one of these all day long for $4,000. Even with high mileages, you can still ride them. Yeah, to me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you want a reliable bike, you want something good and durable, and you want something that's a little bit different than the rest. This bike, I can't see any other bike that comes close in value. You also have the Kawasaki Concours, the first gen, and I like that bike. I like the boxiness of it, but it's not an ST1300. It's not that. I mean, this thing is head and shoulders above the Kawasaki Concours. I mean, can you guys think of a better value than this bike? $3,500, $4,000. Give me your best bet in the comments below. That gets you like a over 1,000cc shaft drive, all-day comfort, extremely durable and reliable. You can do anything on it. Post up in the comments below. I am very interested in hearing about it. Know that the ST1300, it's not everybody's cup of tea. It's a subtle bike, and by subtle I mean it can be a little bit boring, but to me, boring is good. I've had to push my share of bikes around that have broken down, and it's no fun. Once you've had to do that a couple of times, you're like, okay, you know what? I want something that doesn't break in the middle of the road and potentially get me killed. The SD, as heavy as it is, man, this thing just keeps on trucking. It's got a freaking awesome engine. The V4 is incredible. I love how it sounds, even though it sounds like a little Jetsons car. That's how it sounds like, but it's good. It's a good sound. I can rack up 200 miles on this without even thinking about it. Doing 500 miles, no big deal. Storage here, storage there, 2 saddle cases. I mean, the saddle cases look great on the bike. Everything is integrated. All of this for $4,000. All of it. It's incredible. What else can you do with that? A VFR costs you just as much. You don't get a shaft drive. The FJR, it's a smaller bike, more powerful, more fun, but physically much smaller. If you like touring, having a touring bike like this that's just like all day comfort is just so nice. But then again, I wouldn't kick the FJR out of bed. The thing with the FJR is that the FJR costs more than this, and it's hard to believe because generally Hondas are valued higher. But in the United States, I think Hondas and Yamahas, I think the Yamahas are actually a little bit more expensive. And in Europe, they really value Hondas. It's almost like a status symbol to have a Honda. This bike likes to devour miles. But there's something about this bike, like getting on it, sitting down feels so comfortable. It feels so easy. You don't have to like struggle with anything. Everything is on it is perfect. The mirrors, the ergonomics. If you like comfort on a bike, like, why wouldn't you like comfort? Comfort and speed, the ability just to like munch all those miles in comfort. I would really recommend the ST. Now, the ST1300, that's a whole different ball game. That's a great bike. It doesn't have the high-speed wobble. It has just about the same speed as this. It just doesn't look as refined, and it doesn't handle as good. This bike, it feels much more refined. The ST1300, I had one, never had an issue with any like high-speed wobble. It was always dead on. And I think maybe the ST1300 killed it for the 1300, because that particular bike, it was just so good. It was such a good touring bike. And Honda made this one a little bit lighter, I think 40 pounds lighter, more powerful, and handled much better. I don't know if it's much better, I guess it depends on the rider. But this is a much better bike. But the ST1300 didn't have the quirks of this bike. The high-speed wobble didn't exist, and it was only slightly smaller. It felt longer. So the ST1300, you want to stay clear from the early gens, 91s and stuff. They had an alternator problem. My ST1300 had that alternator problem. When you get out on the open highway, this bike is just so good for that. There's bikes that are very exciting to ride, like a Honda RC51. Oh my god, they'll be so good to ride, but in the winter time, this thing is a hack. It's as if like the wind just goes all around you. You don't really feel it. You don't get bombarded by the wind. And then you have this, an electric windscreen. It makes riding, yeah, once you get an electric windscreen, it's hard to go back. The things I don't like are the high-speed wobble first. But you know, that's the thing. It doesn't really bother me all that much anymore, because I don't go over 100 miles an hour very often. It's just, I prefer to ride like at 70 miles an hour in pure luxury. And this bike is perfectly capable of doing that. But the front end always feels a little twitchy. And it's very controversial. I keep getting all of these comments about it. It's just none. There's something up with the front end. I think it's maybe just the entire build of the bike in the front. I don't know, but it's there. The other thing is the miles per gallon are not that good. My Prius gets better miles than this. The FGR gets better miles, which is crazy. And I believe you get like 40, 41 miles to the gallon, and that's pretty much it. You don't get better miles per gallon than this. But you also don't get this bike to save the earth. This thing does guzzle gas. It's also got a very large gas tank. Another thing I don't like is the incredible amount of heat in the summer. But then, in the winter, it feels so good to have some heat hitting you. So, it's got flaws. It's not perfect. The ST is not perfect. But the ST feels like a Honda Goldwing. A sporty Honda Goldwing. The new Goldwings are pretty darn good. But this thing, oh man, it just got such character. You cannot deny that this bike, as subtle and as dull as some people think, doesn't have character. In a world of like characterless bikes like many Hondas and Japanese bikes, I don't think this one is one of those that lacks it. It might be a little subtle, it might be a little dull to ride, but man, it is just epic when it comes to devouring miles. And for me, that's all that matters. That's it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Write in the comments below if you agree with this bike being one of the best bargains on the used market for open class sport touring machines. I really think so. It's just so good. It does everything really well, and of course it's got a few flaws, which is not that much for the amount of money that you pay. So write in the comments below what other bike you think comes even close to this. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.
I like turtles.